In this video, we're going to take a deeper dive into the header section of a new estimate. So when you create a new estimate, this gray area at the top here is the header. This is one of the first things you'll fill in. So let's just kind of go through this in detail. Here you can choose your date. It'll default to today's date. This is the estimate number, which is the next sequential estimate number that's in line based on previous estimates that you've done. This is not editable. PO number can be entered at any time now or at any stage. If a client chooses to give you a PO number that is related to this, it'll show up on the estimate. Over here is customer visibility. Okay, so by default, every estimate would be visible to a client for obvious reasons, but why would somebody want to have an estimate as invisible, for instance? So let's take a scenario where you're creating a project either for an internal team or for a client that is already approved a budget outside of the system or something like that, and you want to use this to create budgets that will translate into the project where people can then track time and expense off of. You may not want that client to see that internal budget that you've set for yourself, so you can create this as an estimate for budgeting purposes, but set it to invisible so the client wouldn't see that. So that's just one reason. Okay, the next is you have to choose an organization and a contact. That would be the receiving party of the estimate. So if you need to create a new organization that is not in the system, you would first create the organization here by entering it and clicking add, and that would appear in here. Or I can go into here, for instance, and choose an existing estimate. This is a type to complete form, so it makes it very easy to choose an existing estimate. And then once you choose once you choose that organization, the related contacts for that organization will automatically show up here. I can also add any contact I want. If I wanted to put in, a different contact, I can add that contact here as well. Does not have to be from the same organization. This allows you to copy just about anybody you want on the estimate. And you would check main as if that's the main contact, and the other ones would be, secondary contacts to the estimate. Over here is your team. This is your company team, your existing users. If you have more than one, you would add additional users here. You can click on this and it will show the default users in here. You can click on multiple people in here like that and add them to it. And when they are copied on the estimate, when it's sent, it will automatically show up in their estimate dashboard when they log into Trackfront and so forth. So the next thing you would want to do is fill out your category. So what is a category? Why do we have a category and a title? A category is there because if you wanted to put some general higher level organization hierarchy to your estimates and or projects, this is where you would do it. So for instance, like here with a creative agency, they have them categorized as print and video. Now keep in mind that when you set a category here, it does not appear on a different organization. It only appears for this organization. So if another client estimate was created, these would not be in the drop-down. They would just be saved per the actual organization here. So you can always add a new one in here. And where this comes in handy is if you were to go into your estimate dashboard here and you wanted to, for instance, edit a particular view, the category is one of those views where you could go and put a keyword in here and you could sort by a general category of estimates the way you would want to segment them out. Okay, so once you've chosen a category, you can then give the project a title. This could be, for instance, in this particular case, would be a brochure design, let's say. So this is a title that is descriptive of that particular project that is being quoted. All right, next is the payment terms. So you would choose your payment terms in here. These are completely defined in settings. So if I go into my settings, to give you an example, if I go into payment terms over here, you will see that list duplicated right here. If I wanted to create a new term, I would just simply give it a new name. It would appear in the list. I can drag and drop these around as much as I want, which is just how you would reorder the list. I can set a default, which would always show up by default, which in our particular case it's 50% down, and you can delete these as well. So, and then the status, the last part of this here, is for the most part is something you want to leave alone because it will naturally change and progress as you save estimates, send them, a client views them, the client takes action, they would either approve, ask for a modification, or decline the estimate. These statuses will change automatically. But you can always take an existing estimate. So for instance, I'll leave this one. I won't save that one for example, but let's take a look at one that has been viewed already. So here was a catalog quote for this particular client. Now the status is viewed. Let's say they called me on the phone and said, I want something changed on this estimate. Now, there's no way to automatically change the status here because that was an actual conversation that was had, but I can then go back and say, I'm going to create this as a draft again. I would save it, and then I would send it again, and it would automatically naturally change the progression of the statuses back to the same methodology as it was before. But you can, at any time, even if a client, for instance, said, hey, I'm going to just send you an email approval with my signature, and I faxed it. Does anybody fax? I don't know. Then you can actually just click on approve and approve it yourself here. So you can change these statuses manually. That's not a problem. So that's a quick overview on the header section of the estimate, and you can take a deeper dive in here. One last thing I wanted to mention in here, there is a review status. This is if you've set up some of your own staff members and permission roles to have a review. That means that when they send an estimate, it actually won't go out to a client. It'll be flagged for you or any of the other admins to review and approve, and then they would go ahead and send it, and it would go off to the client after that.